Okay, so you're going to make a foldable that has all the properties in it that we're going to be talking about in Unit 2. So this is kind of the end product of your foldable. You're going to be making this with all the properties, and inside you're going to explain what the property is with words and show it with symbols. And everything to fill these out is in your math book. So first, let's talk about how to make the foldable. You're going to need 4 pieces of paper, a stapler, and a set of scissors. You're going to take each piece of paper, you can do them all at once if you want, and you're going to fold them in half like a hamburger. And you're just going to cut right down the middle. So you're basically cutting your pieces of paper in half, hamburger style. Remember, if I go too fast for you, feel free to pause the video, catch up, and then you can play it again. Then you're going to take each one of these half sheets that you've created and fold those in half, hot dog style. So each one is going to be folded in half. And then you're going to look in your book, starting with Unit 2, and you're going to find the first section. I believe it talks about properties. And on each one of these pieces of paper, I want you to title it a different property. So on your first sheet of paper, on the outside, you're going to title it Commutative Property of Addition. I'll show you what I mean here in just a sec. So take all your half sheets, stack them up. The first one is going to be Commutative Property of Addition. And you want to leave it so you have about an inch or an inch and a half on the left-hand side. So title this Commutative Property of Addition. Title your next sheet Commutative Property of Multiplication. Again, leave about an inch or an inch and a half on the left that you don't write on. On your next sheet, you're going to title it Associative Property of Addition. Then the next sheet after that, title it Associative Property of Multiplication. Then you're going to title it Reflexive Property of Equality. The next sheet is going to be titled Symmetric Property of Equality. The next one is going to be titled Transitive Property of Equality. And the last one is going to be titled Distributive Property. When you have those titled, you're going to stack them all up together. And I'm going to have you staple that one end that you didn't write on. Staple it all together. And then notice on my end product I have a little flap. So this commutative property can lift up and you can see something inside. So you're going to take each one of those flaps and you're going to cut straight up just on one of those pieces. Okay? Then I'm going to go to my next flap and I'm going to separate it. So I'm just cutting one piece. I'm going to cut straight up on that one as well. We're going to do the same thing for each one of these. Okay? Then I want you to fill this out. So you're going to need to look in your book and find Commutative Property of Addition. I want you to look at what the property tells you, and then in your own words, I want you to write what it means. So to me, the Commutative Property of Addition means that changing the order in which you add two numbers does not change the value. You can add in any order. That's what the property tells me, that A plus B is the same thing or is equal to B plus A. I wrote it in symbols and I also gave an example that 7 plus 12 is 19 and 12 plus 7 is also 19. Okay? Then on the commutative property of multiplication, you are going to write what it means in your words, but feel free to use my symbols and my example. So go ahead and copy that down, and then you need to fill out in your own words what that means. And remember, you can pause this if you don't have enough time to copy everything down. For the associative property of addition, again, you can use my symbols and my example, but I want to make sure that you write it in your own words as well. So write down what this property means in your own words. Associative property of multiplication. Here's my example and the symbols. You write what that means in your own words after you copy down the symbols. Reflexive property of equality. Here's the symbols and the example. You write down what that means in your own words. Symmetric property of equality. Here's my symbols and the example. Write that in your own words. Oops. Transitive property of equality. Here are the symbols and my example. Write that in your own words. And finally, the distributive property. Here are the symbols and my example. Write what that means in your own words. You need to complete this foldable. Every property, all 8 properties, should have symbols with an example and what it means in your own words. Go ahead and finish that for your assignment today. Remember, if you missed anything, you can always go back and pause the video and then use this foldable as you work through your lesson on Thursday and Friday to help keep track of what the properties are. Give me a call or email me if you have any questions.